This week's Torah portion, Mishpatim, sets forth various laws relating to the economic and social interactions in Jewish life. The Sedra begins with the words, "And these are the laws that you shall set before them." Rashi, quoting the Mechilta, explains that the word "and," ve'ela, at the beginning signifies a continuation from the previous portion. Had the verse simply said "these," ela, it would have implied a fresh start, separate from what came before. We learn from this that just as the 10 Commandments were given at Har Sinai, so too were these laws. This also explains why the portion didn't begin with the usual words, Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe, and God spoke to Moses, since these laws are a direct continuation of the previous portion. There was no need to introduce them as a new pronouncement. Similarly, it makes sense that Mishpatim ends with the description of the finale of the giving of the Torah, including the Jews' famous declaration, Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do and we will listen. Interestingly, some laws in the Torah were given by Hashem from inside the Ohel Moed, the tent of meeting, such as the priestly laws found in Torah's Kohanim. Since these laws primarily were relevant to the Kohanim, they were not proclaimed publicly at Mount Sinai. However, the laws in Mishpatim aren't just for judges or religious scholars. They apply to everyone, so they were given at Mount Sinai. This sets Judaism apart from other civilizations. In secular society, legal codes are primarily studied by lawyers and judges, while the average citizen remains largely ignorant of them. But in Judaism, even young children learn these laws, including the relevant sections of the Talmud, because everything in the Torah, even what one may deem mundane, is indeed sacred and relevant to daily life. Every Jew is expected to be familiar with these laws, just as they are with the core principles of Judaism. This knowledge helps ensure that people act ethically and avoid wrongdoing. Rebbe Leil Mizrahi explains that these laws, like the 10 Commandments, were delivered in a dramatic and awe-inspiring manner, with thunder and lightning. This was meant to instill a deep reverence, emphasizing that ethical and social laws are just as divinely significant as ritual commandments. The Midrash Rabbah states, the Torah was given in the morning, and the laws were given in the evening. The Radzina Rebbe, Rabbi Yaakov, may his merit protect us, elaborates on this in his Sefer Beis Yaakov. He explains that for some people, their Torah is the morning Torah, bright, clear, and inspiring, but this is only what they deem spiritual, holy law between them and God. But when it comes to ethical laws, Mishpatim, the laws governing human relationships, it's as if night has fallen. For them, morality and ethics are in darkness. They don't give them the same reverence, if any. They may even view them as optional. Rashi, again quoting the Mechilta, explains that the phrase, "you shall set before them," means that Moshe was to teach the laws in a clear and organized manner, like setting a table. This can be understood metaphorically. Just as Jews, when setting their table, ensure that the utensils and food are strictly kosher, checking every detail carefully and that it has the proper rabbinic supervision, so too, in ethical behavior, one must be equally precise. In all business dealings, social interactions, and personal relationships, honesty, integrity, and fairness must be upheld with the same level of meticulousness as keeping kosher. One must demonstrate ethical behavior, trustworthiness, love for others, and a deep connection to Hashem. As the Mechilta concludes, the laws in Mishpatim reinforce the fundamental truth. It has been clearly shown to you that Hashem alone is God. There is no other. The first commandment in this week's Torah portion deals with a Jewish slave. To protect him from abuse, the Torah limits his servitude to 6 years. If, at the end of his term, he chooses to remain with his master, stating, "I love my master, my wife, and my children," referring to the wife that was a non-Jewish slave given to him by his master and children from that union, he undergoes a symbolic act. His ear is pierced with an awl, and he continues serving until the Yovel, until the Jubilee year. The Gemara in Kedushin 22 explains the significance of this ceremony. The ear that heard at Mount Sinai that the children of Israel are my servants, meaning they belong only to God, not to another human being, has now ignored that message. The door symbolizes the path to freedom, which is now open for him, yet he chooses to stay enslaved. This is why his ear is pierced by the door. Rebbe Eliezer Ashkenazi in his Sefer Maaseh Hashem explains that the ear is pierced at the doorpost where the mezuzah is affixed. The mezuzah contains the Shema and the V'haya im Shamoa, passages that emphasize accepting the yoke of God's kingdom and the yoke of his commandments. Many commentators ask, if the issue is that he has chosen slavery, why don't we pierce his ear when he first becomes a slave? The answer may be that at the beginning, his servitude was due to hardship, whether financial struggles, debts, etc. Perhaps he stole and had no way to repay what he owed. In such cases, one can understand why he gave up his freedom. However, after 6 years, when his debt has been repaid and the door to his freedom is open, if he still chooses servitude, he is considered an Eved Nirtza, a person who has willingly closed his ears to God's command. Perhaps, when the Jubilee year arrives and the shofar is blown on Yom Kippur, he will finally hear the echoes of Sinai and return to his home and family. For decades, Russian Jews suffered both spiritual and physical oppression, exiled to places like Siberia and Termez. Many ended up there due to the war, the Nazi atrocities, or as escapees from the camps. But today, with doors open to Israel and America, no Jew should say, "I love my master." Similarly, Jewish immigrants who arrived in America often struggled with poverty and found it difficult to keep Shabbos. At that time, perhaps, neglecting Shabbos was their only option for survival. But today, thank God, we have financial stability, and even our children and grandchildren are provided for. Now is the time to free ourselves spiritually. The door is open. It's time to hear the voice of Sinai again, to return to synagogue, and to reclaim a full Jewish life. This Shabbos, the Shabbos of Parshas Shkolim, and of the blessing of the new moon, let us ask Hashem to redeem us immediately from all forms of exile, physical and spiritual. May we soon be able to say in Hallel, Anna Hashem, O Hashem, Ani Avdecha, I am your servant, the child of your maidservant. You have released my bonds, you have set me free. Shabbat Shalom.